Welcome to Democracy-ish. I'm Danielle Moody.
And I'm Wajahat Ali, and I don't know about you, Danielle, but I pretty much don't roll with pedophiles, make excuses for pedophiles, defend pedophiles, guard pedophiles. And I, for one, believe that anyone who is in these Epstein files, and it's shown and proven that they, in some sort of way, rape girls or were complicit in covering up the rape of girls. I don't care if they're liberals, Democrats, progressives, South Asians, Americans, celebrities, Muslims, conservatives. I believe they should all go to figurative hell. But that's just me, and that's how I wanted to start off today's show.
You know, I just said, I just posted actually on Threads, and I said, just so we're clear, pedophilia is not a partisan issue, nor is it an issue that should be up for debate. And I genuinely, if for anyone who watched the Danielle Moody show yesterday evening, I think that you could have just cut the anger that I have and the rage with a knife, particularly targeted at Megyn Kelly, who we will get to later in today's show. But this country is truly fucking sick, Waj. Like, it is truly, like, I don't know. I know that there are times when we say, white folks in particular say, this is not, the country that I know, and Black people and indigenous people are like, hello, we've been trying to tell you. But I gotta say, on this issue, on pedophilia, on the abuse of children, the way that I'm watching this sick, twisted fucking party make excuses and defend and deny it, I genuinely, in all the things that I've said, I genuinely never thought that we would get to this place. This is utter hell. If this is not the fucking bottom, I pray to God that we don't get to see what is.
There will be another bottom. An hour ago, Julie Brown, who did fantastic work for the Miami Herald and has been trying to expose this. New York Times, conservative media picks an Epstein storyline and sticks to it. Democrats botch the rollout of the Epstein's emails. So it's going to get worse. You reminded me, I believe it was you who reminded me in the summer, we talked about it, that Nancy Pelosi said when asked by Chris Jensen on MSNBC,
Yep.
what about the Epstein files? She said, I think there's more important things. And I'm like, what the F are you talking about? At that time, more than 80% of Americans wanted the release of the Epstein files. And now what we're seeing is the entirety of the Republican Party, because I think they realize that their king and their daddy, their words, not mine, Donald Trump, is all over these Epstein files in some way, shape, or form. I would remind people that Epstein and Donald partied all throughout the 90s. They chased models together. There's videos of them. There's photos of them. We have a photo of him and Melania with Glenn and Donald, with Jeffrey. No one's really explained how Melania got into this circle, right? Jeffrey Epstein told Michael Wolff in the audio tapes that the first time Donald and Melania had sex was on his jet called Lolita Express. All the emails, and we'll talk a little bit about these emails that were released, also show you that it wasn't just Donald. And I think this is why we might be living in the seventh circle of hell. And if you believe in karma and sin and all those things, Donald Trump is the manifestation of all of America's like just evil. This is who we are, a part of us. I know people don't like to acknowledge it, but maybe Donald Trump is, in fact, who we have been, Danielle, right? Part and parcel of it. Same country that enslaved people, same country that's had racism, same country that has engaged in the capitalist exploitation of so many workers, right? Freaking Larry Summers is there, and we're going to talk about all this, asking Epstein for like dating advice. Even after Epstein was convicted in 2008, where he got the sweetheart deal, you see all these famous people: Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Steve Bannon.
Deepak fucking Chopra.
I didn't see that.
Oh, Deepak Chopra yesterday listed in the email trove.
Exactly. Like, this is what I'm saying. It's a big club and you ain't in it. They knew, they didn't care, Epstein used them. They used Epstein. He might be a pedophile, but a lot of famous people hang out with him. He can't be that bad. Ehud Barak, prime minister. It was released a couple of days ago that Ehud Barak's aide just stayed at Epstein's house. Totally normal, Danielle Mooney. And I want to remind people that Virginia Giuffre, victim survivor who allegedly died by suicide, in her memoir that came out recently, she named Andrew, who's no longer a prince, because if she was just telling tall tales, he'd still be a prince. She named a couple of billionaires, and she also named a prime minister of a country. And I just want to say that Ehud Barak has been photographed multiple times at the Jeffrey Epstein pedophile penthouse in New York, and it was just released that his aide stayed there as well. So what I'm talking about is the entirety of it, the scope of it, the
Yep.
magnitude of it, Danielle.
Yep.
The fact that even Bill Clinton, even though Bill Clinton, like why were you associated with this man, Bill Richardson?
Yep.
And a part of me, yes, this is the Epstein cover up. Yes, it's the biggest political cover up that we've ever seen. But a part of me also thinks that some of these Democrats wanted to protect Clinton and Richardson and a few others who were there as well. It's a big club. None of us are in it. And I don't want to be in a pedophiles club. Sorry for my rant.
I just want to say, because people were like shocked by the Deepak Chopra piece.
I had no idea.
I'm gonna drop this link from the Washington Post in the chat right now, but I just want to read this from the Washington Post. Epstein had exchanges with Deepak Chopra, a New Age author, that touched on spiritual and metaphysical connection. In July 2016, Chopra asked Epstein if he knew Trump's ex-wife, Marla Maples. Epstein wrote, in fact, when she told Donald she was pregnant, I lost a $10,000 bet with him and sent him a truckload of baby food in payment. In a November 26th exchange, Epstein sent Chopra a Daily Mail story claiming that a troubled woman with a history of drug use made up allegations that she was assaulted by Trump and Epstein when she was 13 years old. When Epstein confirmed to Chopra that she dropped the civil charges against him, Chopra responded, "Good."
Ugh. Ugh. Ah.
Here's the link for folks in the chat for you, because someone had said to me on Substack, Danielle, what's your beef with Deepak Chopra? And I was like, I don't have a beef with Deepak Chopra. I'm just reporting on what's being said. And this goes to your point of, I don't care who is in these emails, who is on this list. If you are a spiritual leader, a fucking prime minister, a fucking prince, like a president, a former president, I don't care. Because pedophilia and abuse of children and sex trafficking is not a partisan fucking issue. Like, I don't care who you were aligned with. Also, I just have to say this. I swear to God, Oprah brought to the American people the fucking worst men of all time. And I am really just like curious about her thoughts with regard to the fact that, like, from Oz to
Dr. Phil.
to now Deepak Chopra, like, these men that she brought to the American people that said, let them guide you, are all fucking kooks, crazy, and in bed with fucking pedophiles.
And in bed with MAGA for the most part. I know people don't like hearing this. Oprah Winfrey, amazing story. Everyone loves Oprah Winfrey. Oprah
Not so
Winfrey
much these days.
is a billionaire. Oprah
Mhm.
Winfrey has been part of that big club that you and I aren't part of for a long
Yep.
time, folks.
Yep.
Oprah Winfrey partied with all these celebrities. Oprah Winfrey has her private jets. Oprah Winfrey, Ellen DeGeneres, all these folks that you all thought were one of you ain't one of you. They ain't relatable. They haven't been relatable for a while. Oprah Winfrey's best friend, Gail, was in that dumbass rocket flown by Bezos.
Yep.
I believe at Bezos's $50 million wedding, Gail was invited along with a whole bunch of celebrities. It's a big club. and
And
you ain't
you
in
ain't
it.
in it.
And folks, being 45 years old, traveling the world, learning a few things, not that many things, what I have discovered, the rich are their own tribe. They always
Yes.
have been, and they
Yes.
always will be. I have a few friends who are like FU, have FU money, a few, and really good people, in the sense that they're one of the few who use their wealth to like help folks. But even then, and I say this to their face, and they kind of admit it. The rich are their own tribe. They will protect themselves. They will defend themselves. Much like, black folks in a specific area will protect themselves. Muslim folks, queer folks, Desi folks, right? The rich are their own community. The rich will protect themselves, and the rich, it transcends ethnicity, nationality, gender, politics, sexual orientation. At the end of the day,
Yep.
there's a reason why you see photos of Donald Trump partying with Clinton, Donald Trump partying with Bloomberg, Donald Trump partying with Republicans, and they all smile. Yeah, Ellen DeGeneres chatting it up with George W. Bush at a game, right? Oprah Winfrey chatting it up with the celebrities. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. And if you don't believe me, look at these Epstein files and look at the names. Again, the Larry Summers of it all. We'll talk about it.
Yep.
Bill Clinton,
Yep.
the Deepak Chopra, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Steve Bannon, Steve Pinker, Bill Gates, right? They knew, they had to have known this man was convicted. They had to have known, because his friggin' private jet is called Lolita Express. You looked at that birthday book we talked about on the show, the birthday book, the 50th birthday book that Glenn Maxwell had compiled. Donald Trump said, I didn't write anything. You had friggin' his lewd drawing, his lewd note, and then you saw all the other illustrations and drawings we shared on this show. These people not only knew Danielle, they celebrated it. They
Yep.
laughed. It was a joke. And
Yep.
and the big picture, if you really look back, and what
Mm-hmm.
should infuriate you, girls, they're our property. Who cares? They're not important people. It reminds me of the show Succession when one of the characters accidentally kills another person. Like, they're in a car crash. He tries to help the
Oh, yes.
waiter. The
Yes.
waiter, the waiter drowns, and then the lead character, the Rupert Murdoch character, I'm forgetting his name, Brian Cox, who played him. He goes, "He's not an important person. No one will care. Why do you worry?" And he told his son, "Don't worry, we'll clean it up." That's how they saw these girls, as property, as their candy, as their toys. As Virginia Giuffre said, they pass me around like a platter of fruit, like they own me, like I was Prince Andrew's birthright. And it was an afterthought. And for them, it was like Larry Summers was like, oh, I'm talking to Epstein. Maybe I could get some dirt on Trump and maybe some dating advice. Epstein used them. They use Epstein. It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
So look, so this was the breaking news, folks, that that I had to put into the show as we were about to come on air, which is this. So if you want to talk, so first of all, Donald Trump, according to Aaron Parnas, hadn't tweeted, hadn't posted on his broke down social media platform in 36 hours following the barrage of documents that were dumped on the public on Wednesday. Hadn't heard from him. Today, he comes out with a post once again referring to this Epstein saga as a Democratic hoax. And now he is specifically calling on Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice to probe, to reopen the Epstein investigation and only look into Democrats and do away with any information on Republicans, including himself. He literally just directed the Department of Justice to do this. Key points. Donald Trump says he is asking the Department of Justice to investigate relationships between his former longtime friend Jeffrey Epstein and others. Trump named former President Bill Clinton, J.P. Morgan Chase, ex-Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, and Reid Hoffman as people he wants the DOJ to probe for their dealings with Epstein. In a 2018 email released this week by a House committee, Epstein refers to former personal lawyer Michael Cohen pleading guilty charges related to hush money payments on behalf of Trump and writes, "I know how dirty Donald is." So the fact of the matter, right, is that once again, we are watching in real time the weaponization of the Department of Justice against Donald Trump's enemies. And what we are also seeing, again, which is what I posted before we came on air, is that Donald Trump is much in the same way that he did with COVID, is turning pedophilia into a partisan issue. So it is totally fine for Republicans and those that are affiliated with Republicans to rape children. But if you are a Democrat and rape children, oh, we're going to come after you. And I think that this is fucking sick and twisted, and also absolutely shows us, Waj, without a shadow of a doubt, that Donald Trump is guilty, guilty, guilty.
He I'm just looking at everything like you're saying online, and even on Truth Social, his broke down social media platform. Aaron Parnas did a screenshot resulting from his post right here, and for the first time, he said you're seeing cracks within the MAGA movement, where even on Truth Social posts, usually it's all like fawning sycophancy, right? But they're like, release the files. What are you hiding, folks? He's guilty as hell. If he had nothing to hide, if God forbid we're ever placed in the situation, right? But let's just, they say walk in another man's shoes. And I never want to walk in Donald Trump's cankled, sweaty, orange shoes. But for the sake of this exercise, all right, this is a hit job. I was friends with Epstein, but we just partied. I didn't do anything with girls. I have nothing to hide. You know what? Release the Epstein files. Yep. There you go. See, stupid Democrats and libs suffering from TDS. I had nothing to do with it, but in fact, some of your buddies were there, right? Allegedly, I'm just throwing out some names: Clinton and Richardson and Bill Gates, blah, blah, blah. Release the files. I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to lose by releasing the files that the DOJ has, and that a federal judge said the DOJ can release the files. Release the files. Pam Bondi, remember, she went on, I believe it was Fox News, said, I have the files right here. Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, when they were shit-talking conspiracy theorist podcasters before, they went to the FBI and Donald Trump was elected, promised that they would release the Epstein files. Pam Bondi promised they would release the Epstein files. They have radicalized the base for the past 10 years with the QAnon conspiracy theory, talking about how all liberals, pretty much anyone who doesn't support Trump, is a child trafficking pedophile devil worshiper. I'm not making this up. And the Rosetta Stone that will prove it is the Epstein files. So the mistake that they made is they radicalized their own base. Donald Trump went along with it. They promoted QAnon, even though the FBI and law enforcement warned that the QAnon conspiracy has the power to radicalize individuals and groups. We know it has radicalized people to violence. Ashley Babbitt, radicalized by QAnon. Vance Bolter, the man who had a list of 70 Democrats who wanted to kill liberals, did kill
insurrection.
The insurrectionists, right? They said, we know this is bullshit, but it works for our base. Feed them the chum. Feed them, feed them, feed them. More red meat, more red meat. Yes, yes, rile them up. Attack against the liberals, all right? There's only one man who can come and clean up the swamp. There's only one man who can come and make things right: Donald Trump. It worked. Anti-establishment, drain the swamp, demonizing liberals as unhuman, evil, sinful, right? All the words they've used, okay? He gets elected. Whoopsie! He is all up in the Epstein files. Do you remember? I think we talked about it when Kash Patel came on Fox News and Dan Bongino came on. They looked kind of ashen, and they were like, "There's nothing in the Epstein. Hey, he killed himself. Everything's fine. Case closed. I'll see you at Valhalla." Pam Bondi, all of a sudden, U-turn, and their own base, which is radicalized, Danielle, now says, "Where's the red meat you promised me?" Yep. And drip, 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 drip. The reason why I believe, and I've been saying this on my show, your show, our show, is there's two Achilles cankles for Donald Trump: Epstein and the economy. Over 75% of Americans, as a result of this history, including Republicans and conservatives and MAGA, they want a release of the Epstein files. They'll be like, "Oh, wonderful, you're doing an investigation. This is great. Release the Epstein files. He can't get away from it." And where I'm looking at right now, the reason why he's stuck, the Epstein estate, the brother, has a lot of the documents, and which they've given to the Democrats. So we still haven't gotten all the documents. You got the Epstein files, which have been seen by members of the FBI who were tasked to redact his name. And as Allison Gill told us of Mueller report, a whistleblower said that they were all sharing the same Excel file. So that means people probably copy pasted it. You're going to get a lot more drip, drip, drip from, I think, people in the FBI. You have
Mm-hmm.
Ghislaine Maxwell. Okay. You don't know what she's going to say or not say. And then you have the survivors themselves who have stories to tell. He's screwed, Danielle. Epstein is going to screw him, and all the GOP have, look, they all have a chance to do the right thing. And look what they're doing, Danielle.
I mean, so let's just run through it, right? A reminder, a refresher for those who haven't been as neck deep in this as Waj and I have been. So, one of the first emails that in the 23,000 documents that was released um is this one which we've covered, which is, look at the bottom. Jeffrey Epstein to GMAX. I want you to realize that that dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Victim's name is redacted. Spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. GMAX. I have been thinking about that, right? So, what are they saying here? Donald Trump has been involved, and I believe, and many have speculated and said, that this is Virginia Giuffre. Virginia, who worked as a host at Mar-a-Lago, who Jeffrey Epstein stole as Donald Trump's property, which is what began the falling out, is that Ghislaine was using Mar-a-Lago, where all of these underage girls were working for Donald Trump, and they were going there and they were saying, hey, why be stuck here at Mar-a-Lago when you can hang out with us on private jets and private islands and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that made Donald Trump irate. The question I asked for those of you who were teenagers and I'm certain had jobs, right? I worked in retail or at restaurants. I I often ask myself, and I went into a downward spiral yesterday, Watch, because I said, in what fucking world? And this is just how sick America is, and I want you all to follow with me for a moment. In what fucking world do you allow your underage daughters to be working at Donald Trump's clubs as some type of fucking masseuse, a job that you require a license for? And people say, oh, well, they were hosts inside of the spas. Why would underage girls be allowed to do such a thing? And I'm telling you, it is because their parents were oftentimes also bought off by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. And I'm like, we don't have these larger conversations about, again, how fucking little this country, this society, this world cares for girls and women, right? And you are just sold like you are a fucking goat on a farm, right? To be used and abused so that your parents can, get a private plane or get some money or get whatever. And it's sick and it's fucking twisted.
Well, goats are treated better. Goats on a farm are fed well for the most part because you want to make sure the meat that you eat isn't like traumatized. And then, of course, in certain factory farms, they're treated terribly. But yeah, goats aren't raped and then repeatedly traumatized and gaslit and traded to be butchered again and again. At least the butchering is once and it's done, right? The suffering ends. So I would say even goats are treated better than these girls. It's look, I mean, going back full circle, like this says a lot about our society, folks. I know people don't like hearing this. People, when Joe Biden used to say this, it always used to bother me. I always felt like I needed an edit. This isn't us, folks. This isn't America. I'm like, yes, it is. You could you could be Donald Trump could be as American as apple pie, and you could have a Harriet Tubman. as American as apple pie. That's America, right? You could have a Harry Tubman represent America and Donald Trump. That's America. And the problem is we've never recognized or acknowledged that Donald Trump is as American as apple pie.
Yep.
Slavery, rape,
Yep.
exploitation,
Yep.
greed, cruelty, carnivorous capitalism, meanness, misogyny, part and parcel of America. And we would much rather destroy universities, ban books, eliminate DI, than even confront the history of our Donald Trumps in the past, right? And because we want to have no truth, see, everyone wants to get to, I always said this, everyone wants to get to reconciliation in America, always. But how do you get to reconciliation without truth? You can't, you don't, you won't. And so the big game keeps happening again and again and again, the rope-a-dopes and this and that and the whitewashing and the gaslighting, right? And we refuse to acknowledge the sin in front of our face. And now, we've always been thinking, Daniel, Donald Trump came out, if you all recall, like 10 years ago, and he said, I can shoot someone from Fifth Avenue.
In the middle of Fifth Avenue.
In the middle of Fifth Avenue, I could shoot someone and my base won't leave me. He was right. The question is, if he would have, if you will, rebooted it, did a remix and said, I could rape girls in Fifth Avenue with Jeffrey Epstein, my base wouldn't leave me. And I think now the answer is, yeah, mostly true. But there are cracks. However, I did not expect this from Megyn Kelly.
Oh, dear God. Let me tell you what. Megyn Kelly has got to be now one of the most fucking vile white women to ever have a microphone and to ever have a platform. This woman is so fucking sick and twisted. I'm going to play this 2018-2025 split and then play the full conversation that she had on her SiriusXM show, where she essentially has now become an apologist for pedophiles. And if you think that anybody who is reporting on this is taking it out of context, I urge you to listen. Because I will have to say this, because I have to remove this and then bring it back on. I have to say this, that there is something wrong with Megyn Kelly. And look, I know that people will say, yeah, I mean, there's always been something. No, there is something really, really wrong with Megyn Kelly.
You feel as a victim. You feel a victim. To people who are going to be out there, because some are going to judge and say, you were 15, you were 16, you were 17, you were a willing participant. Again, the legal age of consent in California is 18, so there's no consenting for a 14 or even a 17-year-old in these circumstances.
As for Epstein, I've said this before, but just as a reminder, I do know somebody very, very close to this case who is in a position to know virtually everything. Not everything, but virtually everything. And this person has told me from the start, years and years ago, that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like he liked 15-year-old girls. And I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely not trying to make an excuse for this. I'm just giving you facts. That he wasn't into like 8-year-olds, but he liked the very young teen types that could pass for even younger than they were, but would look legal to a passerby. And that is what I believed, and that was what I reliably was told for many years. And it wasn't until we heard from Pam Bondi that they had tens of thousands of videos of alleged, forgive me, they used to call it kiddie porn, now they call it child sexual abuse material, on his computer, that for the first time I thought, oh, no, he was an actual pedophile. I mean, only a pedophile gets off on young children abuse videos. She's never clarified it. I don't know whether it's true. I have to be honest. I don't really trust Pam Bondi's word on the Epstein matters anymore. Yeah, so I don't know what's true about him, but we have yet to see anybody come forward and say, I was I was under 10. I was under 14 when I first came within his purview. Look, you can say that's a distinction without a difference.
No, it's not.
I think there is a difference. Yeah. There's a difference between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old. It's just whatever.
Wow. You know what?
Like,
I didn't even hear I didn't even hear the entirety of it. It's even worse. I mean, I heard enough, but you played the full clip. Okay, Joyanne Reed and I, when she comes on the Left Hook, we talk about Megyn Kelly because I always use Megyn Kelly as an example of the alpha Karen, the final boss of Karens, and I always use Megyn Kelly as just a beautiful example of whenever they tell Black women in particular, or people of color, oh, the media it skews woke. I always bring up Megyn Kelly, and if I may, Daniel, the receipts. Megyn Kelly is a woman who spent her career in Fox saying racist, hateful things, just cruel things. She is adamant about Santa being black, a fictional character, adamant, going to war that Jesus must be white. All right. She did all this, totally complicit. Rupert Murdoch, everything. She was a little bit against Donald Trump. Donald Trump and the entirety of the base mocks this woman, ridicules her, engages in the worst misogynistic comments. Remember about blood coming out of all the holes? What does NBC News do? I just want people I want you to be filled with fury, folks. Okay, what does NBC News do? NBC News replaces Tamron Hall and Al Roker's successful show, two black hosts, with Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly, Danielle, gets paid $69
$69 million.
million guaranteed. She comes on NBC, stinks up the joint, literally does not last even a year. On the show, says more uncomfortable stuff about blackface and Jane Fonda having plastic surgery. The show is canceled. She walks away with a $69 million bag, the most money ever given to someone to host a failed show. She literally fails up. Tamron Hall leaves. Melissa Harris Perry's gone. Tiffany Cross later comes and goes. Joanne Reed's gone. That same Megyn Kelly, who has the bag of $69 million. If it was me, Danielle, I'd literally I'd do Hajj again. I'm like, Allah, thank you. You must have loved me. You gave me a $69 million bag for being mediocre. You would never hear from me again, Daniel. I would be ecstatic. I'd be jumping on clouds. What does Megyn Kelly do? Crawls back to the sewer of MAGA.
Yep.
Crawls back to Donald Trump, where
Yep.
with her new successful podcast, she's even more cruel than she used to be. And I sit there and I look at Megyn Kelly as I say this very deliberately, the alpha Karen, the final boss Karens, the cruelty of these white women. Not all white women, folks, you know what I'm talking about. If you've seen the show enough, we know. Not all white women. I'm talking about this particular type of white woman. The innate cruelty, indecency of a Megyn Kelly White. What produces something like this that would go after we know everything about these women and girls who were raped, say this to protect the man who mocked you and ridiculed you, and there was death threats because his base turned on you, and you would now go and defend pedophilia for his sake? Sorry for my rant. Your take on it.
Because I'm good. Because I'm revving up for one of my own. Because this is something, and honestly, I'm gonna piss a lot of people off, and I don't care. Because this is an issue that I feel so deeply about. Here's the thing. I want us all to just pull back the wool from our eyes, do a squeegee clean on the rose-colored glasses. Who commits the most mass murders in this country, Waj?
The white man.
White men, okay? Who is more likely to commit rape in this country? White
The white
men.
man.
Who is the mother and the birther and the fucking vehicle for white men? White women. The thing that we never ask, the thing that we never create reports on in the way that the Moynihan report was created in order to demonize and criminalize Black women and Black mothers and say that the Black woman's womb is the most terrible place for a Black child to exist in. You know who we never question? Fucking white women who raise sociopathic white men. Who is destroying this country, this world? Billionaire white cis men. right? And if you want to get to the root of the root, you may want to look at the parentage. You may want to look at the broken fucking family. You may want to look at the sociopathic, cruel mentality, right? That is the cancer in this country, which comes from whiteness, right? And the belief of white nationalism, the belief in the submission of women, white evangelical Christianity, and all that fuels these people, right? We're going to go through Donald Trump's fucking spiritual advisor, who is now in fucking jail because what? He raped a 12-year-old girl. You run through these people and you realize that they are fucking sick. But we never talk about the white women that raise these white men, that marry these white men, and that allow for this to happen. And what is Megyn Kelly? Megyn Kelly is the personification of that whiteness.
Yep. She is the handmaiden of white supremacy. We've talked about in this show, some of the worst hate mail I ever got was this article I wrote for the Daily Beast when I was a columnist there. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe, when we were talking. I just mentioned how Donald Trump has received a majority of white women support every single election, 2016, 2020, 2024. And I also mentioned that white women have gone for Republican men every single time since the 60s. Only twice they broke. Once for Lyndon B. Johnson and one term for Bill Clinton. And white women are part and parcel of white supremacy. And the reason why they do it is a majority of them, not all of them, folks. I know 45% of white women voted for Kamala Harris. I get it. But the numbers are the numbers. A small majority of white women say, you know what? We would rather be close, much like those POC model minorities. We would rather be close to whiteness and be asymptotic to its protection than actually align ourselves with our own allies who will suffer just like us. So we'll throw our allies under the bus and we'll choose the protection of whiteness, assuming falsely it will protect us. And the reason why we talk about this is look at it. Look what's happening. Megyn Kelly, a woman who was mocked and ridiculed by Donald Trump in the most ugly, disgusting way possible, has turned around now and decided to use her platform to say that about pedophiles. To say this about pedophiles.
Because folks, you need to be enraged by this. Because Waj and I told you two things that are coming true today. We told you 2 weeks ago. We said that, one, what is Donald Trump going to do, right? When these files and the truth starts to come out, he is going to pull a what? Wag the dog.
Yep.
And we are going to end up in a war because of the Epstein files. Because when rats are backed into a corner, they will chew through everyone and everything in order to find their way out. And that chewing through is America. Okay, is the American people, is our Constitution. And what did Pete Hegseth announce? Oh, we're going to war with Venezuela. That happened last night. What else did we say? We said when this came out, just watch Republicans try and justify and talk to us about the fact that they're, 15 is basically 18, right? And 14 is basically 18. And you know how these young girls are and their seduction of men. So you have Megyn Kelly fucking here saying, I know somebody very close to this case, Jeffrey Epstein. In this person's view, was not a pedophile. He was into the barely legal type. Like he liked 15-year-old girls. He wasn't into like 8-year-olds. There's a difference between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old. No, you fucking disgusting piece of trash. There is not. Because you know what they both are? Children under the law.
Listen, wow. We were 40 minutes in. We're like 10% into the stuff that we had to say. Thank you all for, hey everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for joining.
I'm glad actually we're spending time on this because, we normalize the most vile sins otherwise. And we gloss over it, and we're like the dog from the movie Up. Squirrel. We should sit with this for a second. Girls were raped. Thousands of girls were raped and trafficked. They were silenced. They've come out over the past 20 years. They were ignored. Jeffrey Epstein got a sweetheart deal that no one has ever been given in the history of humanity. The victims were not consulted. They were told after the fact. Alex Acosta, the special prosecutor, then became a labor secretary for Donald Trump. After Jeffrey Epstein was convicted and essentially stayed out of jail for 6 of the 7 days, still raping girls. After the fact, still rape girls. All these people still partied with him. And what's infuriating is Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were closest friends for 10 years chasing girls. And Donald Trump has been held liable for sexually assaulting a woman, E.G. Jean Carroll. No one cared. He's been accused by 24 women of sexual assault. No one cared. He's birthed all his kids with 3 different wives, each one he cheated on. No one cares. He's been held liable for fraud. No one cares. He's a criminal. No one cares. But maybe, just maybe, this Epstein scandal is the one thing that I will still say this, even though it's so gross. I think this will bring him down in some way. What I mean by this is it might not put him in jail. I don't think he's going to spend a single day in his life in jail. But there is something about the straw that breaks the camel's back when you pair it with the economy, where he's so negative. And we can look at the numbers. Don't we have the number there?
We have the numbers. Hold on.
Let me show you. Let me show you.
Let's jump right to here. Here.
This is. I'm telling you, folks, he can't escape. Look, let's just be honest. Danielle said this. I want to bring this up again. He's not behaving like an innocent man. Okay.
No.
What are you trying to hide? Like I said before, I hate to be in his shoes. What I would do, literally today, America, all these lies by the left. It wasn't me and the Epstein files. It was all the liberals. I've ordered the DOJ to release the Epstein files, and I'm going to look into why Ghislaine Maxwell got a sweetheart deal. I didn't approve that. Why is Ghislaine Maxwell in a minimum security camp? There you go. Alone. That alone is the smoking gun. Why, oh, why have you not released the Epstein files? What was your relationship with Epstein, right? The fact that he is so scared that they spent the last 3 days huddling, right? They went in the Situation Room. Todd Blanche had a meeting. Kash Patel had a meeting. And this is the strategy they came up with. We'll launch an investigation, but only to the Democrats. Are you happy? And the base is like, no, I guess we're happy. But can you release the Epstein files? And folks, the reason why I'm saying that he's stuck, look at this Enton poll that came out yesterday.
Let's play it because I played it earlier in the week. And I just think that, again, things they don't want you to pay attention to.
Donald Trump is underwater on basically every single issue he ran on in 2024. But the Epstein files, the Epstein case are especially dreadful for him. What are we talking about here? Well, let's take a look at Trump's net approval rating on the issue. Look, they're all in red. They're all in the negative territory. But on immigration, he's 5 points underwater. Foreign policy, 8 points. Trade and tariffs, he's 17 points. The economy, 18 points. But look at the Epstein case. He is 39 points below water on the Epstein case. His net approval is 39 points in the negative. My goodness gracious. What Donald Trump has been selling on the Epstein files, the Epstein case, the American people, simply put, have not been buying at all. Sarah Seidner.
All right. So is there any sign that things have gotten better since there have been some things that have been released?
Yeah. Okay.
Although released by Democrats.
There have been some things that have been released. Donald Trump has been trying to make some sort of case saying that, the folks don't necessarily care about it. But take a look here. Approval of the Trump admin on the Epstein case in early July, right when you had those DOJ droppings, right? It was 17%. Look at where we were by late September, the latest poll I can find it. 20%. We often talk about Donald Trump having this floor, right, of at about 40%. On this particular issue, he is less than half the level of the supposed floor. There is just nobody in the electorate who is buying this. They do not like the way that the Trump administration has been handling this case one iota.
I mean, but then because I have to go back because I have to play this because I want the very same network. Okay. The very same fucking network where Harry Enton is giving you the poll numbers and telling you the truth about where the American people's opinions are based on all of the issues that Donald Trump ran on in 2024. This very same fucking network then turns around because, folks, I got to tell you, everybody is complicit. Everybody is complicit. Listen to this.
President, and we do want to be clear, the president, Trump, did not receive or send any of the messages, which largely predated his time as president. He's not been accused of any criminal wrongdoing in connection with Epstein or Maxwell. The White House.
Epstein and Michael Wolff were in conversation a month prior to Donald Trump being elected president of the United States the first time. And CNN had the audacity to say, well, he hasn't been accused of anything, and this wasn't during his time in president. Are you fucking kidding me?
But they got roasted for it. They got roasted for it.
One of the other emails, Waj, said that where was Jeffrey Epstein on Thanksgiving 2016? It's 2017. Mar-a-Lago. Donald Trump was president. It was his first Thanksgiving as president. And where was Jeffrey Epstein, according to his emails? At Mar-a-Lago.
You know, when people said Michael Wolff, you know, I had him on the show on November 10th, which was just 4 days ago before this came out. I emailed him to ask him, hey, you want to come back on and discuss like why it seems like you were coaching Jeffrey Epstein or acting as his conciliary. Someone mentioned, you know, why'd you had Michael Wolff on? So I emailed him because I only have his email. Hasn't responded to my email. If he does, I think it's worth asking why him. And there was another New York Times reporter who was I'm forgetting his name, I think Thomas Lando, who was super
the financial reporter.
Yeah,
where is his? I think it's here. No. Sorry, folks. Let me remove this from the stage. There is a back and forth that Lando had, and I may not have it right here.
It's all right.
But basically saying Epstein to Lando, do you want the pictures of Donald Trump with girls in bikinis in my kitchen? And the response was yes, with 3 exclamation points.
They're disgusting. They suck. Look at this. But speaking of why they suck, as this is happening, look at this. I have to spend a second on this. As this is happening, Danielle.
I mean, here's
Last
what
night
we learned about Matt Gaetz, who was investigated by the Department of Justice and never tried. But for the first time, we're now hearing from the then 17-year-old girl who testified that she had sex with Matt Gaetz for money. And folks, she was living in and out of a homeless shelter. She was working at McDonald's. She had just finished her junior year in high school, and she wanted extra money to try to save up to pay for braces to fix her teeth. And that piece of shit, Matt Gaetz, who, by the way, all of the Republican Party was covering for and saying, oh, again, 17 is not illegal. That's, he's just, he may be creepy, but he's not a pedophile, blah, blah. Again, the law dictates that 18 is the age of adulthood and consent. But like I continue to say, if you have teen following your age, you are a fucking child and you have no business. A 40-year-old man, a 30-something-year-old man, a man has no business with a 17-year-old, a 16-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 14-year-old.
They took advantage of her. They took advantage of a girl, and they used her for sex. And going back full circle, they see these girls as toys, as disposable toys for powerful men with perverse appetites, and they throw out the bone and they move on to the next piece of meat. These are disgusting individuals. Rarely do I talk like this, but man, I hope they burn in hell. And speaking of, there's so many sexual assault and pedophilia stories within the GOP and MAGA. I'm not making this up. Every week, there's a news story of a MAGA supporter or a pastor caught with like child porn or sexual assault, like it just week after week after week. So we just chose two just to illustrate it. Matt Gaetz, who, by the way, remember, Donald Trump wanted Matt Gaetz to be his attorney general. You all
Yep.
remember that?
Yep.
And then Republicans knew all this shit was going to come out. And it was the Republicans who said, nah, we're going to avoid that scandal. We're going to head it off early. But also Donald Trump's former spiritual advisor, we've talked about in this show before, recently, Pastor Robert Morris was sentenced to jail for sexually abusing a 12-year-old. He's only going to spend 6 months in jail.
I just we are in a sick, we are in a sick, twisted place as a country. And the fact is that you can go back into history, friends, back into history and know that as it pertains to girls and women, not much has changed, right? You may have laws on the books that say that we're no longer property, but if you are paying attention to the language and the cover up and the abuses of young girls, nothing has changed, right? And to the point that you made earlier, Waj, about the rich being their own tribe, they see the rest of us as pawns.
That's right.
They see the rest of us as disposable. If you are not a part of that 1%, you don't matter. You're not even human, right? Succession, with the part that you played about the son who ends up killing somebody accidentally, like that is taken from real life. That has happened. We know that has happened. Ted Kennedy didn't become president because of the car accident that he was in, right? Like that's where it was taken from, that killed a young woman. So like, I feel, if you don't feel, I should say, sick to your fucking stomach about all of this, about the fact that it is more than likely, because I actually disagree with you on this, Waj. I think no one is going to be held accountable. I think no one is going to go down. I think much in the same way that we thought that the banks were going to go down for their predatory behavior. I think much in the same way that we always think, oh, justice will prevail. No, because I guarantee you that also in these files are actual justices as well. There is not an industry that is not touched by this, with powerful men that are in control of everything in this country and in this world. So I want people to sustain the outrage, but as we're going to watch this country go into an unnecessary war and bomb and kill brown people and round them more up in this country as a distraction, we know that like it is rare upon rare that wealthy, white, powerful, cis men are held responsible and accountable for anything. It is why they create systems of protection for themselves so that they can harm everyone else.
I don't disagree with you on that. My definition of accountability when I said that is I think it will hurt them in other ways. I think it will hurt them in the sense that it will hurt some careers. It will hurt some political aspirations. It will hurt some of their brand, and they might get a few of them. But you're right. I made peace with the fact, I thought about this because it was like rage was building, and I had to breathe and say, throughout history, all these people fail up, and these people have failed up, and they'll continue to fail up. But justice can be had in different ways. And that's what I'm looking at. And if I can, real quick, I know we're running out of time, but I just want to show you all. We're going to do it quickly. There are cracks, folks. There are cracks. And I want us to exploit these cracks. We'll go through it quickly. Thomas Massey, he sees where the wind is blowing. He says more Republicans are quietly telling me they plan to vote to release the files, and he predicts this could snowball. Trump will protect you if you vote the wrong way, if you vote to cover up for pedophiles. But I would remind my colleagues, this vote is going to be on your record longer than Trump is going to be president. He knows where the wind is blowing. Foghorn Leghorn came out. I just don't think this is the issue is going to go away until it's addressed and answered to the American people's satisfaction. MTG, oh, she's in for vengeance. She hasn't forgone that Trump stiffed her and her political ambitions. Gaslighting the people and trying to tell them that the prices have come down is not helping. People know what they're paying at the grocery store. Ro Khanna, him, Massey, and MTG will hold a news conference next Tuesday with survivors of Epstein's abuse. I want to remind you all, the survivors aren't going away. The Epstein estate has documents that the Democrats have. Ghislaine Maxwell is still alive, and you got people in the White House. These dumbasses have shown the Epstein files because they were tasked to remove Donald Trump's names. Drip, drip, drip. Now the civil war is beginning. Ben Shapiro claims Marjorie Taylor Greene supports the release of the Epstein files because she wants to destroy Trump's presidency. This is what I mean by accountability. Let them eat each other. Let them destroy each other. Let us get the wins that we can. Let them just, take away some of their revenue. Take away their if you will, veneer of infallibility. Harm their reputation. Let them go down in history as the people who protected pedophiles. That, to me, realistically, is how we get them. But they're going to distract us. And what better way to distract us than war? Danielle, wag the dog.
War. Wag the dog. Trump presented with military options for Venezuela, including land strikes. Pete Hegseth announced that last night. And here is what he said. Trump ordered action, and the Department of War is delivering. Today, I'm announcing Operation Southern Spear. Okay. Led by Joint Task Force Southern Spear and Southcom. This mission defends our homeland, removes narco-terrorists from our hemisphere, and secures our homeland from the drugs that are killing our people. The Western Hemisphere is America's neighborhood, and we will protect it. Oh, but you know who's not joining you in that protection? Our fucking allies in the UK, because they have decided that the actions that Keg's Breath is taking are, I don't know, illegal, and they don't want to play a part in it. So they're no longer sharing intelligence for the first time with the United States with regard to what is happening in the Caribbean Sea because, guess what? It's fucking war crimes that are happening. And no, who cares? Yes, good question over here about congressional approval. What's Congress, right? Like, what do we need congressional approval for? But here's one of the funny things that I think is important as we wind down today. Did you know the regime change in Venezuela was covered up in Project 2025? Now you do know. And because we've talked about this before.
Yep.
The Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Project 2025, transition. Once a model of democracy and a true U.S. ally, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela has all but collapsed under the communist regimes of the late Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro. In the 24 years since Hugo Chavez was elected Venezuelan president in 1999, the country has violently cracked down on pro-democracy citizens and organizations, shattered its once oil-rich economy, empowered domestic criminal cartels, and helped fuel a hemispheric refugee crisis. Venezuela has swung from being one of the most prosperous, if not the most prosperous country in South America to being one of the poorest. Its communist leadership has also drawn closer to some of the United States' greatest international forces, including PRC, Iran, etc. But what is the real reason, Waj, that they are going after Venezuela? It has nothing to do with communism. It sure as fuck doesn't have to do anything with pro-democracy. It has everything to do with the resources that Venezuela has in spades, which is oil. And Venezuela has been able to create a economy that is pretty much closed off, right? Because of the tariffs and the issues that they have with their own resources. And what is that resource? Oil.
And rare earth minerals, and they want
which you need for AI.
Yeah, they want a pro American regime, and they want a pro American business friendly leader. And Folks, strike after strike after strike. We still don't know how many people have died. Now the family members are suing and they want more information. Extrajudicially, without any due process, Donald Trump and the Trump administration have bombed and killed people. They have not released any evidence that shows that they're drug traffickers. Even if they were, you're innocent until proven guilty, or you can clearly stop the boat, just blow out the motor, stop them, arrest them, try them. Nope. The one group that survived, remember this? They blew up a boat, I think it was 2 weeks ago. There was the only survivors. You know what they did? Instead of trying them,
sent them back to their countries.
overnight,
but they're narco terrorists.
Yeah, so overnight, they shipped them back to their countries, the narco terrorists, the drug cartels. Maybe it's because they're like, whoopsie, proof of life, and it could prove that these people are just fishermen and we're just blowing up fishermen as a pretext to engage in an unnecessary war to distract. And then furthermore, bringing back full circle, the cracks are showing. The type of wins that we want aren't the wins that justice demands, which is that all these people go to jail forever, but it might be the weakening of the Trump regime, the weakening of the MAGA reeks, the weakening of their revenue incomes, their revenue streams, the weakening of their legacies, people turning against them. A record number of MAGA people are now leaving MAGA. He's lost the Latino support. He's lost young supporters. People are really pissed about Epstein. They're pissed about the economy. And I want to remind you all, he promised America first, no new wars. Genocide still happening in Gaza. He's threatened Canada. He's threatened Denmark. Now there's going to be a war in Venezuela. This man is 79 years old. He's canceled. He's desperate. He's falling asleep during hearings and meetings because he's an old, broken man. And the Epstein files has him cooked. I think he's cooked. It's just a matter of taking him out of the oven and saying, you're done. But done doesn't necessarily mean he'll go to jail, Danielle. I don't think he ever will. I've said it before. I said it in the first Trump term. I predicted he will never spend a single day of his life in jail. I'm going to stick with that. But there's other ways for the majority to hold these mother effers accountable. And also, I'll end on this. The Democrats who are cowards to hold them accountable, and the institutions who are complicit to hold them accountable as well.
I tell you, folks, this was a jam-packed democracy-ish, but it is important. It is important that we do not allow child rapists and sex traffickers to go on without shame, without spending necessary time on who these people are and what they've been protected, and do not fall for the rope-a-dope that tells you that this is some type of partisan debate, that pedophilia, sex with children, is something that is worthy of debate. They've done it with white nationalism. They've done it with fucking misogyny. They've done it with DEI, right? And now they're trying it again. And to say that, well, let's just change the age of what constitutes a child, right? Which is what we've seen done in red states by red state governors in the first Trump term, and what we see happening now. They are sick. They are vile. They are grotesque. And I don't care what a party political affiliation you have. If you have had sex with children, if you have raped children, you go to jail. And if that is now a line that we erase, then my God, this country really is gone. And there is no soul to reclaim.
Burn it all down, man. Listen, there have been societies in the past who've behaved like this. Those societies no longer exist. That's all I'm going to say. They were erased from history for a good reason. But I have to have faith that there's more of us than there are of them, that the majority is decent, and the majority will draw the line at making excuse for pedophilia and the rape of children. I have to hope. And this is it, folks. He has two Achilles cankles, the economy and Epstein. We've been saying it for a year. And drip, 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 flood. We've seen how, let's just be honest, he's guilty as F. An innocent man doesn't behave like this.
Nope.
So it's up to us to be morally consistent. And you call out all the folks in these Epstein files. That's the key thing. If you have Democratic hacks being like, well, what about the Democrats? Nope, nope, nope. Daniel and I aren't with you. I'm not going to make any excuses for a Bill Clinton or a Richardson or whoever, X, Y, and Z. If you're in there and it's shown and proven that you were raping girls and were complicit in the cover up, there must be accountability. And this is a major step forward in reclaiming and reforming this country and to confront the sins that have been buried and tolerated by rich, wealthy, powerful men who treat us all like they're subjects, servants, or subjects of their carnivorous appetites. Folks, this has been an extra long edition, and we didn't even get to everything, but we got to most of it. This is Democracy-ish. We're live Monday and Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. We do a midweek check-in Wednesday, 3 p.m. on Substack. If you're watching us right now on YouTube, it's Danielle Moody's YouTube channel. Please subscribe. It's free. We're trying to get her to 50,000 subscribers. I know it sounds silly, but it really helps the algorithms. It's the way social media works. If you're watching it on YouTube, please like this. For all the people who gave us money, Danielle, maybe you could go through a few of them, really just show them on the screen.
Yep.
These are called super chats. They're like tips that you can give us on YouTube. They go a long way. Why? Because we're independent. We don't take money from anyone. And we have about 1,500 people watching this on my 1,600 people watching this on my Substack, The Left Hook. Hey, everyone. Hey, Noble Blend, Crunchy, Cat, Howard. Howard says, Waj, you need more sleep. I know. I'll get it one of these days. Justine, David, thank you all for joining. And we got people watching on Damn Digest. If you're watching on Damn Digest and a Left Hook, we're terrible capitalists. We kept everything for free. There are no paywalls. So if you can, at the very least, subscribe. And if you have a few dollars, give it to Danielle Moody. She likes her nice coffee. And then if you have a few more dollars left after that, give it to me. I got 800 kids and 3 cats. Let me feed 1 child and half a cat. Folks, for those who joined us a little bit late, a lot of people are watching. We got nearly 1,600 people watching on Twitter and YouTube, 1,600 people watching on my Substack, several hundred people watching on Danielle's show. This will be up in about an hour or two on our Substacks, and this will also be up on YouTube within 2 minutes. We bring the receipts. We talk about the latest breaking news. We talk about how Republicans are just shamefully doing their best to try to cover up pedophilia. My God. However, there are cracks showing. There are cracks. And I want us to have hope and faith that the fact that the majority's voices will carry weight. And I will end on this, is that we had 7 million people come out for the No Kings rally. We had double-digit victories thanks to all of us coming out in the blue tsunami. They threw everything in the kitchen sink at Mamdani. He won by nearly double digits. And I believe, if you look at the latest polls, Donald Trump is negative 39 on the Epstein files. And one of the only thing that unites Americans in these divided times is that the majority of conservatives, MAGA, independents, and Democrats want the release of the Epstein files.
All right, folks. Have a good weekend. Do something, like sleep, wash, take a break, find some joy. It has been a rough week in America, as it always is, but take care of yourselves. We will be back on Monday, 12 p.m. Eastern, so do join us then. We'll have videos up all weekend long. I'm assuming Wash has 87 Substacks that he's going to do, so make sure to check out The Left Hook, the Damn Digest. Folks, and whatever you do, as Waj always says, please, oh please, don't be a fascist. We'll see you next week.